The treaty banned human weapons, but not human hands. In the vast expanse of the Galactic Federation's diplomatic center, Ambassador Krill'vex of the Morcadian Empire stood rigidly before the Council of 19 Species. His exoskeleton gleamed under the pale blue lights of the chamber, mandibles clicking in the precise rhythm that denoted formal address. The 18 other representatives, beings of various biological compositions ranging from crystalline to gaseous, focused their sensory appendages on the Morcadian's presentation. "Honorable representatives," Krill'vex began, his translator module converting his clicks and whistles into the standard galactic language. "The Treaty of Proxima Centauri has maintained peace among our civilizations for 73 cycles. Yet I must bring to your attention a concerning development regarding the human delegation. A ripple of electromagnetic disturbance passed through the chamber, the equivalent of murmurs among the assembled dignitaries. Humans were relatively new to the galactic community, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 15 Earth years prior. Their admission to the Federation had been controversial, given their species' documented history of violence. The treaty explicitly prohibits all weapons developed by humanity," continued Krill'vex, displaying holographic images of Earth's banned arsenal. "Projectile weapons, explosive devices, directed energy systems, all forbidden from Federation space. However, we have discovered a loophole." At that moment, the chamber doors parted with a soft hiss. A single human male sauntered in, his posture notably relaxed compared to the rigid formality maintained by the alien delegates. Jason Cooper, Earth's junior diplomatic attaché, was known throughout the Federation for his unorthodox approach to interstellar relations. His casual stride and perpetual half-smile had unsettled more than one ambassador. "Sorry I'm late," Jason said, dropping into Earth's designated seat without the customary bow. "The artificial gravity in Section 7 is acting up again. Had to take the long way around." Krill'vex's compound eyes swiveled toward the human. "Representative Cooper arrives just in time to address our concerns." Jason raised an eyebrow. "Concerns? Did someone find my stash of hot sauce again? Because I filed the proper paperwork for those chemical compounds." "This is far more serious," intoned Ambassador Zelat of the methane-breathing Vornai Collective. "We have been monitoring your activities during the Rigelian trade negotiations." "Oh, that?" Jason leaned back, crossing his legs in a manner that made several of the more conservative delegates avert their sensory organs. "Went great, by the way. We secured an excellent dilithium exchange rate." "Indeed." Krill'vex's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. "And how exactly did you convince the Rigelians to offer such favorable terms when they refused all other species?" Jason shrugged. "I just gave them a hand." The holographic display shifted to surveillance footage, showing Jason in the Rigelian delegation's quarters. His hands moved in rapid, precise motions as he manipulated small metallic objects before the fascinated Rigelians. "This," Krill'vex announced, "is what humans call card tricks. Ancient ritualistic hand movements combined with deception and manipulation of primitive cellulose rectangles. The human represented these activities as entertainment, but our analysis indicates they are clearly evolved from combat training exercises." Jason snorted, a sound that caused the gelatinous Moravian representative to ripple in alarm. "They're just card tricks, sleight of hand. It's not a weapon." "Your hands," Krill'vex continued undeterred, "are biological implements capable of delivering significant force. Your species evolved as predators, using these appendages to hunt, fight, and craft weapons. The treaty banned human weapons, but not human hands themselves." The council chamber fell into an uneasy silence. Jason looked around at the assembled aliens, many of whom now regarded him with newfound suspicion. "You can't be serious," he said finally. "You want to ban hands?" "Not ban," corrected Ambassador Drell-X of the silicon-based Targosians, "but regulate. The treaty must be amended to include limitations on human manual activities, particularly those involving rapid movements or manipulation of objects in ways that could be perceived as threatening." Jason stood up, forgetting protocol in his disbelief. That's ridiculous. How am I supposed to do my job, eat, dress myself? With appropriate supervision, Krill'vex stated flatly, and permits for specific manual activities. Jason opened his mouth to protest further when a gentle chime indicated the arrival of another delegate. The chamber doors opened once more, admitting Admiral Sendak of the Terran Diplomatic Corps, Jason's superior. Unlike Jason, Admiral Sendak embodied military precision. Her uniform was immaculate, her posture perfect, and her expression carefully neutral as she assessed the situation. The silver at her temples and the decorations on her chest spoke of decades of service. Ambassadors, she acknowledged with the perfect 45-degree bow prescribed by protocol. I understand there's been some concern about my junior attaché's methods. Admiral, Krill'vex greeted her. We were just discussing a necessary amendment to the Treaty of Proxima Centauri regarding human physiological weapons. I see. Sendak's gaze flickered briefly to Jason, who had the good sense to look abashed. Perhaps we might approach this matter with more nuance. The Federation has always prided itself on finding solutions that respect the biological and cultural realities of all member species. The Morcadian Empire respects biology, clicked Krill'vex. We respect it enough to recognize dangerous adaptations when we see them. Admiral Sendak nodded thoughtfully. A fair point, which is why I propose a demonstration. She turned to Wei, Jason. Attaché Cooper, would you be so kind as to show the Council your dangerous appendages in action? Perhaps the same demonstration you gave the Rigelian delegation? Jason hesitated, looking from Sendak to the increasingly agitated Krill'vex. Then understanding dawned in his eyes. Of course, Admiral. From his pocket, Jason produced a simple deck of playing cards, thin rectangles bearing archaic symbols that predated Earth's digital age. With practiced ease, he began to shuffle them, his fingers dancing across the cards in intricate patterns. He executed a perfect cascade, the cards flowing from one hand to the other like water. Several of the delegates leaned forward, their attention captured by the fluid motion. Even Krill'vex's mandibles stilled as he observed. This is a traditional Earth entertainment, explained Sendak smoothly. Dating back centuries before we developed even basic firearms. It demonstrates dexterity and coordination, certainly, but hardly qualifies as combat training. Fascinating, murmured the Arcturian delegate, whose species communicated primarily through color changes. Their skin had shifted to an interested shade of purple. The mathematical precision of the movements suggests a deep understanding of physics. Jason grinned, warming to his audience. He began a more complex series of manipulations, cards appearing from nowhere, vanishing, and reappearing in impossible locations. For the finale, he approached the Vornai representative. Pick a card, any card, he offered, fanning the deck before the methane breather. After a moment's hesitation, the Vornai extended a tentacle and selected a card. Don't show me, Jason instructed. Show it to the Council. The Vornai displayed the card, the 7 of diamonds. Jason made an elaborate show of concentration, pressing his fingers to his temples. Was your card the 7 of diamonds? He asked finally. The Council erupted in a cacophony of impressed sounds ranging from clicks to harmonic vibrations. The Vornai's gas sac expanded in surprise. How did you know? The methane breather demanded. Jason winked. Magic. Not magic, corrected Admiral Sendak. Skill, practice, the same attributes that make humans valuable members of this federation. We may have evolved as predators, yes, but we've channeled those instincts into arts, sciences, and diplomacy. Krill'vex remained unimpressed. A charming display, but it does not address our central concern. Human hands can still form fists. They can still strangle, punch, and manipulate objects with deadly intent. So can the tentacles of the Vornai, countered Sendak. The pincers of your own species, Ambassador. The telekinetic abilities of the Moravians. Should we ban all natural biological functions because they might, under certain circumstances, be used aggressively? The chamber fell silent as the delegates processed this argument. Jason took advantage of the moment to execute another flourish with his cards, sending them spiraling into a perfect stack in his palm. Perhaps, ventured the crystalline delegate from Altair 6, we are approaching this from the wrong perspective. The issue is not the physical capability, but the intent and application. Admiral Sendak nodded. Precisely. And if I may say, so, Attaché Cooper used his dangerous hands to secure a trade agreement that benefits multiple Federation worlds, including Morcadia. Krill'vex's mandibles clicked slowly as he processed this information. The dilithium exchange rate does favor our mining operations. And all it took was some fancy fingerwork and a deck of cards, Jason added, unable to resist. Admiral Sendak shot him a warning glance. I propose, said the Admiral, addressing the full council, that rather than amending the treaty to restrict natural biological functions, we focus on cultural exchange. Let each species demonstrate their unique capabilities in a setting of mutual respect and learning. The Arcturian delegate's skin shifted to a thoughtful blue. A galactic cultural exhibition, perhaps? Excellent suggestion, Sendak agreed. Earth would be honored to showcase our harmless manual arts, everything from card manipulation to origami to musical instruments. One by one, the other delegates indicated their approval of this alternative approach. Even Krill'vex, though still rigid with suspicion, lowered his formal objection. Very well, the Morcadian conceded. But I will be monitoring these harmless demonstrations closely. As the council session adjourned, Jason fell into step beside Admiral Sendak in the corridor outside. That was close, he murmured. Thanks. For the save, Admiral. Sendak maintained her diplomatic composure until they were safely inside the privacy field of the Earth Embassy's shuttle. Only then did she allow herself a small smile. Cooper, you're either going to be the greatest diplomat in Earth's history or the cause of an interstellar incident. I haven't decided which yet. Jason shuffled his cards absently. Why not both? Makes for a more interesting universe. Sendak's expression turned serious. The Morcadians aren't wrong to be cautious. Humanity's history is violent, and our capacity for harm is substantial, but so is our capacity for creation and connection. Hence the cultural exhibition? Exactly. Sendak gazed out at the stars as the shuttle navigated toward the Earth compound. We need to show them who we really are, all of who we are, not just the parts that scare them. Jason nodded, then grinned mischievously. So, can I teach the Vornai how to play poker? Absolutely not, Sendak replied without hesitation. The last thing we need is to introduce gambling to a species that can literally change the atmospheric composition of a room when they get excited. Fine, Jason sighed dramatically. Magic tricks only. The shuttle docked with a gentle thump, and Admiral Sendak rose to disembark. One more thing, Cooper. Yes, Admiral. Where did you learn those card tricks? They were impressive, even by human standards. Jason's expression turned enigmatic. My grandfather was a casino dealer in Vegas. He always said hands could build empires or bring them down. He flipped a card between his fingers. Guess he was right, just on a slightly larger scale than he imagined. Sendak shook her head, hiding a smile. Report to the embassy at 800 tomorrow. We have a cultural exhibition to plan, and apparently you're now our star performer. Yes, ma'am, Jason replied with a mock salute. As the Admiral departed, he remained in his seat, shuffling his cards and gazing out at the spectacular view of the Diplomatic Center, a massive structure housing representatives from over 500 worlds. What the Admiral didn't know, what no one in the Federation knew, was that Jason Cooper had not been randomly selected for the Diplomatic Corps. His particular skills had been very carefully evaluated, his unorthodox methods precisely what Earth's government had been looking for. Because sometimes in a galaxy where humanity was outmatched in nearly every technological and physical category, the oldest tricks in the book were exactly what you needed. 3 weeks later, the Grand Hall of the Federation Diplomatic Center had been transformed. What normally served as a formal meeting space now hosted dozens of cultural exhibits, each showcasing the unique capabilities of different member species. The Arcturians had created living light sculptures that shifted and danced with their creators' emotions. The crystalline Altarians demonstrated their ability to refract light into complex patterns that told ancient stories. Even the normally reserved Morcadians had a section dedicated to their precise architectural miniatures, constructed using their naturally evolved pincers. Earth's exhibit stood at the center of the hall, a simple stage surrounded by smaller demonstration areas. Throughout the day, human diplomats and cultural attachés had been showing off everything from calligraphy to juggling, from intricate knotwork to delicate paper folding. The exhibits had drawn curious crowds, particularly from species whose own appendages differed dramatically from human hands. Jason Cooper stood at the edge of the main stage, watching as a classical pianist finished a rendition of Debussy that had the methane-breathing Vornai vibrating in appreciation. As the performance concluded and the audience's attention began to drift, Jason knew it was time for the main event. "Admiral," he said quietly, approaching Sendak, who stood nearby. "I think we're ready." Sendak nodded, surveying the gathered dignitaries. "Ambassador Krill'vex is present, as are representatives from all 19 council species. This is your moment, Cooper. Don't make me regret giving you this platform." "Would I ever disappoint you?" Jason asked with a grin. "Continuously and with remarkable creativity," she replied dryly. "Nevertheless, you're up." Jason bounded onto the stage with characteristic energy, immediately drawing the attention of the assembled aliens. He wore a simple Earth uniform, modified slightly to accommodate the movements he'd be demonstrating. "Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Federation," he began, his voice carried by the hall's acoustic enhancement system. "For our final demonstration of human manual capabilities, I'd like to invite a few volunteers to join me." A murmur ran through the crowd. Participation in alien cultural rituals was often considered either a great honor or a terrible risk, depending on the species involved. "I assure you," Jason continued, "this demonstration is completely safe and, dare I say, enlightening. May I have 3 volunteers?" For a moment, no one moved. Then, to everyone's surprise, Ambassador Zealot of the Vornai floated forward, gas sac pulsing with curiosity. Following this unexpected lead, a luminous Arcturian and a hesitant Moravian also approached the stage. "Excellent," Jason exclaimed. "And perhaps one more?" His eyes fixed deliberately on Ambassador Krill'vex, who remained rigidly in place among the observers. The Morcadian's compound eyes swiveled from side to side, clearly uncomfortable with the attention suddenly directed his way. After a moment of obvious internal struggle, Krill'vex moved forward with precise steps. "I will observe this demonstration from a closer vantage point," he announced formally, as if his participation were merely scientific interest. "Perfect," Jason said, directing his volunteers to stand in a semicircle. "What I'm about to show you is a human tradition dating back thousands of years. We call it close-up magic, a combination of psychology, misdirection, and manual dexterity." From his pocket, Jason produced not playing cards this time, but 3 small metallic spheres, each about the size of a human eyeball. They gleamed under the hall's lights as he displayed them on his open palm. "These are simple steel balls," he explained. "No technology, no hidden mechanisms, just ordinary metal. May I ask you, Ambassador Zealot, to confirm they are solid?" The Vornai extended a sensory tentacle, delicately touching each sphere. "They appear to be homogeneous ferrous alloy," the ambassador confirmed, the translator rendering the methane speech into standard. "Thank you." Jason began to move the spheres across his palm, rolling them with his fingers in increasingly complex patterns. Humans have 5 digits on each hand, each capable of independent movement. This allows us to manipulate objects with precision that some species might find surprising. As he spoke, the steel balls seemed to dance between his fingers, sometimes disappearing entirely only to reappear between different digits. The movements grew more elaborate until suddenly, Jason closed his hand into a fist. When he opened it again, only 2 balls remained. A collective murmur ran through the audience. The Arcturian volunteer's skin flashed an alarmed yellow. "Don't worry," Jason assured them. "Nothing in this universe truly disappears." He reached toward the Arcturian's luminous form and appeared to extract the missing sphere from behind, their auditory receptor. "It just moves to places we don't expect." The Arcturian skin cycled through shades of amazement as Jason placed the recovered sphere back with its companions. The demonstration continued, each manipulation more complex than the last. Spheres vanished and reappeared from increasingly unlikely locations, seemingly extracted from the Moravian's gelatinous body, from within Krill'vex's exoskeletal joints, even appearing to pass through the gaseous form of the Vornai ambassador. Throughout the performance, Jason maintained a running commentary on the history of human prestidigitation, explaining how these skills had evolved from entertainment to art form, how they connected to human cognitive development and cultural expression. The audience was captivated, even those species whose sensory systems operated in spectrums far removed from the visual. There was something fundamentally compelling about watching objects behave in ways that defied expectation. For the finale, Jason had all three spheres vanish completely. After a dramatic pause, he approached Ambassador Krill'vex. "Ambassador, would you be so kind as to open your formal diplomatic pouch?" Krill'vex's mandibles clicked in surprise. "My pouch has been sealed since I entered this chamber. It is impossible for anything to have entered it." "Humor me," Jason suggested with a smile that managed to be both respectful and challenging. After a moment's hesitation, Krill'vex reached for the ornate container attached to his ceremonial harness. With precise movements of his pincers, he disengaged the security seal and opened the pouch. Inside, perfectly arranged in a triangle, sat the three steel spheres. The grand hall erupted in sounds of astonishment. Even species normally reserved in their emotional expressions could not contain their surprise. Krill'vex himself remained frozen, compound eyes fixed on the impossible objects in his diplomatic pouch. "How?" the Morcadian finally managed. Jason bowed deeply, in the perfect formal manner. "Magic," he said, echoing his earlier explanation. Then he straightened and addressed the wider audience, or more accurately, the culmination of thousands of years of human ingenuity, practice, and understanding of perception across multiple species. He gestured to the volunteers. "Thank you for your participation. You've helped demonstrate not what human hands can destroy, but what they can create. Wonder, connection, and a reminder that the universe still holds mysteries, even in an age of interstellar travel and advanced technology." As the volunteers returned to the audience, Admiral Sendak stepped forward to conclude the Earth presentation. "Honored representatives of the Federation, you've witnessed just a fraction of what human hands have created throughout our history. From the first stone tools to the most delicate surgical procedures, from ancient cave paintings to the instruments that helped us reach the stars, our hands have been our primary interface with the world around us." She paused, looking directly at Ambassador Krill'vex, who still clutched his diplomatic pouch with the spheres inside. "We understand the caution with which the galactic community views humanity. Our history contains violence alongside creation, destruction alongside beauty. But we ask that you judge us not by what our hands could do, but by what we choose to do with them." The hall was silent for a moment. Then, from the back, a rhythmic sound began. The Drothi delegates were striking, their carapaces together in their species' version of applause. Others joined in with their own cultural expressions of approval. Light flashes from the Arcturians, harmonic vibrations from the silicon-based life forms, even the normally stoic Vornai released pleasantly scented gas patterns into the air. The exhibition transitioned to its concluding reception. Jason found himself approached by Ambassador Krill'vex. The Morcadian moved with characteristic precision, but something in his posture had changed. A subtle relaxation of his normally rigid stance. "Attaché Cooper," Krill'vex began formally, "I find myself reconsidering my position regarding human manipulative capabilities." Jason suppressed a smile. "I'm glad to hear that, Ambassador. However," the Morcadian continued, mandibles, clicking in a pattern Jason had come to recognize as indicating discomfort. I must know for the security of the Federation. How did you transfer the spheres to my sealed diplomatic pouch? Jason glanced around, then leaned closer. Ambassador, if I revealed that secret, I'd be violating the most sacred code of human magicians. Krill'vex's compound eyes swiveled in what might have been exasperation. This is a matter of security, not human superstition. Tell you what, Jason offered. I'll make you a deal. I'll explain exactly how the trick was done if you'll agree to something in return. The Morcadian's antennae twitched with interest. What do you propose? Let me teach you a simple human card trick, one that you can perform with your pincers, something to show at the next council meeting. Krill'vex went still, clearly processing this unexpected suggestion. After several seconds, his mandibles clicked once, decisive. Agreed, though I fail to see the diplomatic value in such knowledge. Jason grinned. That, Ambassador, is the first trick I'll teach you. Too standard. Months later, the Council of 19 Species convened for their quarterly session. The agenda was typically dense with matters of interstellar importance: trade agreements, territorial disputes, scientific cooperation initiatives. Ambassador Krill'vex of the Morcadian Empire presided as temporary chair, his exoskeleton gleaming with the traditional oils of authority. As the formal proceedings concluded, Krill'vex did something unprecedented in the history of the Council. He produced a deck of playing cards, the cards slightly modified to be manipulated by Morcadian pincers. Before we adjourn, he announced, I wish to demonstrate a cultural exchange initiated by the Earth delegation. The council chamber fell silent in surprise as the famously rigid Morcadian proceeded to execute a flawless card trick, culminating in the Queen of Hearts appearing precisely where he had predicted. The performance was met with the council's equivalent of delighted applause. In the Earth section, Jason Cooper leaned toward Admiral Sendak. See? Hands across the galaxy. Sendak shook her head, but couldn't entirely hide her smile. I'm still not sure if you're a diplomatic genius or a security risk, Cooper. The best magic tricks keep you guessing, Jason replied, watching as Krill'vex was surrounded by curious delegates requesting demonstrations of their own. And sometimes, the best way to disarm someone is to arm them with something new. On the main floor, Ambassador Krill'vex was attempting to teach the basics of card manipulation to the gelatinous Moravian, whose appendages kept absorbing the cards entirely. The scene was one of frustrated determination mixed with what could only be described as cross-species camaraderie. You know, Sendak observed quietly, when Earth first joined the Federation, our advisors said it would take decades to establish meaningful cultural integration with the older species. Jason shuffled his own deck of cards, the motion as natural to him as breathing. They didn't factor in the universal appeal of seeing the impossible made possible. No, Sendak agreed, watching as even the normally aloof Arcturians joined the impromptu lesson. They didn't factor in you, Cooper. Jason just smiled and continued shuffling, his fingers dancing across the cards in patterns perfected by countless human hands across thousands of years of history, in a galaxy where humanity was the newcomer, outmatched in technology and evolutionary advantages. Sometimes the oldest tricks were indeed the best ones. The Treaty of Proxima Centauri remained unchanged, still technically banning human weapons, but not human hands. But perhaps more importantly, those hands had found a new purpose in the stars. Not to fight, but to connect, to create wonder, and occasionally, to deal a perfect hand of poker to a very confused alien diplomat. After all, as Jason's casino dealer, grandfather had often said, it's not about the cards you're dealt, but how you play your hand.